Tonight, the Premier's carbon tax appeal is again shot down by the PM.
So what are you going to say to Mr. Furey, though, specifically? Do you think he's a short-term thinker?
I think Mr. Furey is continuing to bow to political pressure.
Strong words for Premier Andrew Furey from a Prime Minister defending next month's carbon tax increase.
Yeah, it's my first time seeing him, and I think a lot of his points are very good.
Unlike what I heard tonight, Canada's not broken.
I just like the idea that people are going to get out and listen to both sides.
A full house in Corner Brook of residents wanting to hear what Pierre Poilievre has to offer.
Now they are orphaned, basically.
The local Syrian community is banding together to support 5 children in the wake of their mother's death.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau doubled down today on criticism of Premier Andrew Furey and his call to pause a carbon tax hike.
I think Mr. Furey is continuing to bow to political pressure.
Trudeau made those comments in Quebec today when asked directly about Furey's letter. Furey was one of 7 premiers who wrote to Trudeau this week asking him to hold off on plans to increase the federal carbon tax on April 1st. Trudeau called them short-term thinkers. Furey says people in Newfoundland and Labrador are struggling with the cost of living, but Trudeau says the carbon rebate puts more money back into people's pockets than they pay out in tax.
I think Canadians in Newfoundland and Labrador and right across the country expect their governments to do the right thing. And the right thing right now is not just fighting climate change and spurring innovation for the future. It's about being there to support Canadians during this affordability crisis. And the Canada Carbon Rebate helps out 80% of Canadians with more money than they pay in terms of a price on pollution. It's basic math, and we're going to continue to be there to support Canadians with the Canada Carbon Rebate.
Well, Premier Andrew Furey refused to do an interview responding to Trudeau's comments. An email statement sent by Communications Director Megan McCabe says Premier Furey has always been clear that the federal carbon tax is not the appropriate instrument to mitigate climate change at this time. Well, in other news, after days of protests, the province's fisheries minister says he's open to letting harvesters sell their catch out of province. But he wants a plan and a guarantee from the union, and he wants it soon. This after repeated protests by fish harvesters. The CBC's Mike Moore reports.
For weeks, harvesters have been protesting, pushing government towards what they call free enterprise. That means being able to sell their products to out-of-province buyers and not being locked into deals with local processors. From the steps of Confederation Building to inside the public gallery to the Fisheries office in St. John's, harvesters have been delivering their message. Now, Fisheries Minister Elvis Lovelace seems willing to listen, but not without a guarantee from the FFAW that there will be no negative impacts, particularly on fish plant workers who are worried that harvesters selling their product out of province could mean less work for them. In a letter, Lovelace said the provincial government is willing to consider all proposals to move the fishery forward, provided the impacts of such actions are well planned and understood. But time is of the essence. The crab fishery is scheduled to start in just a few weeks. Negotiations are happening now to set a price. And no one wants a repeat of last year when harvesters tied up their boats to protest the low price of snow crab. In its own letter late on Friday, the FFAW says processing companies in this province don't have the capacity to handle crab, cod, capelin, and others in a timely manner. The union is still calling for competition and market access for harvesters. Mike Moore, CBC News, St. John's.
The Provincial Muslim Association is raising funds to support 5 children who suddenly found themselves without their mother. Nariman Abdul Al Ghafour was found dead last week. The association president says the entire community has been left shocked and is looking for ways to help.
Syrian community is obviously trying to keep them together, but it's financially not everybody is in a position to keep 5 children together, so that's why we decided as a community, elders and executives of the community, that we need to do something.
Well, Prasada says that this is a very sad and somber time. He says there are still many questions about what the future holds for Algafor's 5 children. We'll have more on how the local Syrian community is coping and what they're doing to help. That's still to come on Here and Now. Well, a St. John's woman is sharing the story of how she survived intimate partner violence. Tiffany Halliday turned to community organizations for help, and now she's working with other survivors. Here and Now's Daryl Roberts has more.
Tiffany Halliday was a young professional living in a rural community and stuck in a violent relationship. And over the course of 5 years, it got worse. Her partner groomed her, forced her to have sexual relationships with others in the community, and physically abused her, to the point where she believed she could lose her life.
It's like I blinked and my life wasn't anything that I had ever envisioned or wanted in my life, and I didn't really know how I got there. Because it was so subtle and so small over time, it's like he picked pieces of me away to fit in the little box that he wanted me to fit into.
She left and became one of the first people in Blue Door, a program for survivors of sexual exploitation. She got counseling and help with housing and healthcare. Now she's back at Blue Door, but helping other survivors of sexual exploitation. She says her journey has come full circle.
Honestly, it's a bit surreal. I know when I first started down here back in November, I have often had to basically pinch myself. Is this real? Am I really here? How? It still blows my mind that I've gotten to this place where now I can be the supporter, that I can help someone else feel not alone and feel like there is hope and that there is a path to overcoming the things that have happened to us that are traumatizing. It has been unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
Halliday says these days, the Blue Door program is getting more and more referrals. And this week, a group of 9 status of women councils across Newfoundland and Labrador asked the province to put together a task force on gender-based violence.
It's really important that we listen to survivors, because then we can understand that the nuances of the reasons people don't leave are very specific. At the same time, if we have really quality housing, if we have access to quality, affordable childcare, if we have access to a medical system that's able to support people who are wanting to leave these situations, if the systems are set up in such a way that they make it easier to leave than to stay, people will leave.
Halliday says people experiencing violence should know they're not alone, and there's places to get help. Daryl Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, you can call the Domestic Violence Helpline. That number is there on your screen. You can also find a full list of local support services on the Government of Canada website. If you're in immediate danger or fear for the safety of yourself or someone else, please call 911. Well, to the West Coast now, about 150 people turned up in Corner Brook last night to hear federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. It was his second appearance in the province this week, with a similar event in Gander the night before. As you're about to hear, some were supporters, while others listened with a critical ear.
Yeah, it's my first time seeing him, and I think a lot of his points are very good, and it's good for the working class as well.
Green lighting, green project.
I like his support for hunters and minorities that don't get much support.
Ladies and gentlemen, the good news is that life was not like this before Justin Trudeau, and it won't be like this after.
Well, we have an election coming up, and it's important to get to know both of the potential leaders, but also to get a grasp of their message and also their vision, okay, for the country. Because unlike what I heard tonight, Canada is not broken.
So we have a red seal in the trades. I'm going to bring in a blue seal in the professions.
I'm just really happy to see people getting out to participate in the process. And we're a riding that it's mostly rural, lots of issues around the economy, it's interesting to hear what Mr. Poilievre is putting forward, from an opposition point of view. We've had 8 years of the current government, so we pretty well know where they stand on the issues. So I just like the idea that people are going to get out and listen to both sides and make their decision going forward.
Let's bring it home.
Well, another day, another quiet day across the province, except up across Labrador. Still an area of low pressure that is sparking some flurries and light snow, and generally will continue as we head through the weekend, really across the board. Nothing super significant as far as our weather is concerned, but we do have our temperatures generally sitting around 0, maybe a few degrees above in most cases. Lab City, you topped out at about -1 today. We do have some warmer air just to the west that some of us are going to see as we head through the weekend. But this above seasonal temperatures that we have been seeing up across Labrador are generally going to continue for the next little bit. In fact, right through the weekend, we will see those temperatures hovering around the 0-degree mark, maybe a little bit above, certainly across the island. But really, most of next week, we will see those warm temperatures, and it won't be until we get towards the end of the week that we start to see some of that colder air, more seasonable air return to Labrador. I'll have all those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, COVID-19 rapid tests will no longer be given out at public libraries. Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says people can still access free rapid tests through their local pharmacies, but that COVID management has changed, and so has the province's approach. She says about 500,000 tests are set to expire this month or later this year, but says they'll get used by healthcare professionals through the Paxlovid program. Dr. Fitzgerald suggests people treat all respiratory illnesses the same, not just COVID.
If you have symptoms that suggest that you have a significant respiratory illness, that's causing a cough, a fever, then really you should be staying away from people who are vulnerable so that you don't spread the illness. And to consider wearing a mask if you're going to have to be somewhere where you may spread. We recognize that people have things they have to do and that they may not be able to stay home completely, but to consider wearing a mask in that situation so you reduce the risk of spread.
Well, roads across the province are getting a big boost, $32 million from the provincial government and Ottawa. The money has already been approved and allocated to nearly 30 towns, and some projects have already started. Things like new sidewalks, replacing retaining walls, and installing new culverts and bridges, along with new pavement for 20 roads. Infrastructure Minister John Abbott says strong infrastructure, especially this time of year, is key for the economy and upcoming tourism season.
Really, from February on, we got this freeze thaw, and our roadbeds just get undermined. We have a lot of rain this spring. I guess both East and West Coast have a lot of rain. That undermines the shoulders of roads, for instance. So we've recognized as a government that we need to spend more money on our roads. The Minister of Finance last year announced a 5-year funding program of $1.4 billion. First time we've ever done that, recognizing that with more money, long-term funding, we can do better planning, get the roads done, and really put a significant dent into to that significant asset that we all rely on.
Well, every year, 2 LGBTQ+ curlers from across the country gather for a tournament that has become more like a reunion. This weekend, the Canadian Pride Curling Championship is rocking the Remax Centre in St. John's. The event is hosted by the local Odds and Ends Curling League, and we drop by to check it out.
It's a very special event. It's actually the only Pride Curling Championship in the entire world, and we have that here in Canada. So honestly, it's just a privilege, and we feel honored to be a part of it.
There are 40 teams that will be playing, coming from as far away as Vancouver and Philadelphia.
Why is it important to have that safe space? Because it's LGBTQ focused, like you said.
it's an opportunity for people in the Pride community to feel more at ease, to not have to put on that coat of armor when they go out in the morning necessarily to face the world, because here it's a welcoming space.
I'm Jack Holmes from Vancouver, and I'm here for the Canadian Pride Curling Championships. This is really when all the top teams from the cities that have Pride Curling Leagues in Canada all send their best teams, and there's hardly a city across Canada that's represented here where I haven't met some of the curlers previously, and I only get to see them once a year at this event, so we all get to have a good time and play some great curling.
When winter is short on snow, those who rely on it to make a living have to find a way to make do. And that includes groups involved in snowmobiling, skiing, snowboarding, and snowshoeing. Here's how they do it at Blow Me Down Trails cross-country ski park in Corner Brook.
Hi, my name's Sean Lehman. I'm the general manager of the Blow Me Down Cross Country Ski Club here in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. Just wake up in the morning, look out, see what it is, and deal with it. It's pretty much. Forecast is good. It's an indication of what's coming, but it's not always 100% accurate because it's a forecast. So that's basically what we do is we kind of project, watch the temperatures when it's up and down. If it's really warm, we can't groom because if you pack down wet snow, that turns to ice. So we look at, okay, for next 2 days, could be rain in the forecast. Well, we'll do less grooming leading up to a rain event. We want to keep the base hard and firm so that the rain does whatever it's going to do. If we make it soft before the rain, we'll lose more. So it's kind of working everything together and just like experience of knowing where we have water that will run off, wet spots, boggy spots, stuff, trouble spots. And kind of plan if the forecast is going to be for a bit mild to leave some snow there that we can work with, that we can pull it in from the sides. I call it money in the bank. It's money in the snow bank, but it works. We use the right tools. Like on some days, if it's just cold and a little bit icy, we'll use the snowmobiles and groom. Or if it's really, really bad, we'll use the big groomers with a tiller to be able to chew it up and turn that ice into a shaved ice, and we can ski on that. We start out slow. I'd rather have 5 kilometers of good skiable trail than 20 kilometers of marginal, barely skiable trail. Over the years, we've been managing to pull rabbits out of the hat, and people are getting, the value for their pass. I'm getting members stopping and saying, I don't know where you're getting all the snow, I don't know how you're doing it, but thank you, and they really, really appreciate it, right? So we can't get every trail every day, but we're getting some good skiable trail every day.
Well, how do you collect more than 200 boxes of cereal for the Labrador West Food Bank? Well, you turn the cereal boxes into giant dominoes and take over a school hallway. A teacher saw the idea on TikTok, and the kids at J.R. Smallwood Collegiate in Wabush did the rest.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We set up a whole bunch of cereal and did dominoes with them and donated all the cereal that we collected to the food bank.
There was a couple of times where it just slowed down and stopped, but then someone just ran and knocked it over again.
Kept it going. And how many boxes did you collect?
We collected 218 boxes of cereal.
So we went through to all the classes in the school and we made up a little speech and then told them, and then we started collecting them, and it only took us 1 week.
And what was it like to see all the dominoes fall today, or the domino cereal boxes?
It looked really cool.
Hi, my name is Trina Pixon, and I'm the chair of our local food bank. One of the things that makes me proud to be a native Labradorian here in Lab West is how much this community, whether it's carnival or any event, comes through for their own. And Labrador City and Wabush has made the food bank part of their daily activity, and they donate and they support us. And because people do events like this, because children decide to make a difference and pull off this event this morning for Carnival, other people who are in need get to be blessed by that. It's wonderful to be a part of.
You'd be surprised how many people still do have their little cards with their vaccinations on it.
Well, still to come tonight, we're talking measles, who's at risk, and what you should do to stay protected. More with Dr. Janice Fitzgerald coming up.
Well, the weekend doesn't look that bad across the province. Some of us are going to see some sun, others are going to see some snow. We'll get into all the details coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. The bonus prize deadline is midnight, Friday, April 12th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Well, Canada Post has released a new stamp featuring a town in this province. Bonavista is in the path of the total solar eclipse on April 8th. And during the eclipse, the moon will pass in front of the sun, blocking light and turning daylight into darkness.
Yeah, this new commemorative stamp shows that moment where the moon is in perfect silhouette before the sun. This is Canada Post's first stamp with the solar eclipse, and the next solar eclipse will be in 2023 and 2024.
It's a beautiful stamp.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, Ashley, from the skies to the seas, you're keeping an eye on the ice that's out there now, and more ice means more icebergs, right?
Potentially, it certainly does. Yeah, let's take a look at where that currently the ice is. So that red is the pack ice, and then you've got marginal ice outside of it. It's starting to sink further south at the moment. But if we take a look at the icebergs, because this is, iceberg season is still a little bit away. I did see reports online that one was spotted last week, nothing since, but you can see those numbers starting, nothing super significant at this point further south, but we do have quite a few up there, 21, 27 being reported off the coast of Labrador at the moment. So certainly lots to look ahead to, that's for sure, over the next couple of months. Now, if we take a look at what's happening today, definitely those northerly winds. We want more northerly winds if you want to see some icebergs, not so much if you want some mild temperatures, but we do have temperatures anywhere from about 0 to +3 across the island, the hotspot. The warmest temperatures anyway at +3. And then for Labrador, temperatures still a little bit below 0, but this is well above where you should be sitting in most cases. Right around seasonal though for Nain at -6 today. In fact, you should be sitting around -6, -7 as your daytime highs. So if we take a look at where we're sitting now, generally into the minus single digits, still up across Labrador, about +2 in Corner Brook right now, and St. John's at about -3. Not a whole lot of, with the wind chill, not a whole lot of wind out there though at the moment, but as we head through the weekend, the good news is we're not going to see a whole lot of wind either. We're going to be generally sitting under a weak ridge of high pressure that is going to keep those winds calm. But this will change, though, as we get into Monday, as our next weather maker moves in and brings some gusty winds starting in the morning, particularly for the southwest, but eventually those winds will ramp up across the board. The system will move through fairly quickly, but we could see some snow with this one. In some cases, 5, maybe 10 centimeters is certainly possible, but like I said, we'll keep an eye on that one. Winds will eventually die down again on Tuesday morning across the island, but stay fairly brisk up across Labrador. Now, as far as the satellite radar shows, not a whole lot unless I stop the picture, and then we can see where some of those flurries are being picked up, particularly on the west coast, and then parts of eastern Newfoundland as well. And this unsettled pattern, at least unsettled conditions, will continue through the weekend. So we're still looking at that chance of flurries tonight across the island. They will be very scattered in nature, more flurry activity expected up across Labrador. And then as we head into tomorrow morning, the flurries will generally continue. But for the most part, temperatures tonight will dip 0 to about minus single digits. Winds, again, relatively light. Labrador between -1 and -8 as your overnight low. Now, as we head into tomorrow, we're still looking at that chance of some flurries or light snow for the majority of the day up across the Big Land. Now, the island also generally gray. We'll likely see some cloud cover, though, for the eastern portion of the island. Or some peaks of sun in the mix anyway. And then other than that, like I said, nothing much until we get into Monday. Now, as far as snowfall amounts are considered up across Labrador, you could pick up anywhere from 2 to 5 centimeters, maybe a little bit more in some areas, but overall the accumulations generally light. Tomorrow, temperatures will be hovering around 3, 4, 5 degrees through the day. Again, though, along the northeast coast, we may see those temperatures a tad cooler than that. St. John's -1, but further inland areas may pick up temperature or may see temperatures a lot warmer than that. And then for Labrador, anywhere from about -2 to +2 through the day. And like I said, these temperatures, these relatively mild temperatures for this time of year, are going to stick around for at least the week next week, but we will start to see a cool down towards the end of the week, and I will talk all about that when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Returning now to one of our top stories today, the Provincial Muslim Association is setting up a fundraiser. The money raised will go towards a trust fund to support the 5 children of Nariman Abdul Al Ghafoor. She was found dead on March 5th, and yesterday she was buried in an Islamic ceremony. Here Now's Terry Roberts spoke to Association President Saeed Pirzada.
It was a sad day. It was very, very, plus, like being a cold day and the environment, all the environment, a lot of people came to the cemetery, and despite being, cold and very foggy day, and actually sometime it was snowing, and then we had to bury this person, this lady whose life was taken away suddenly. Everybody was saddened. So a lot of there were some friends who came. There were lots of Newfoundlanders who came to pay the respect, and the officials also came, and a lot of community members were there. Although the children were not there, we decided that it was not for the children to be there because it's not very what can I say? It was sad and somber occasion, and still I think they are still in shock. And there are a lot of talks going on what needs to be done now, because they have their whole life in front of them, and being from Syria, and they don't have any relatives, although there are community members. Syrian community is obviously trying to keep them together, but it's financially not everybody is in a position to keep 5 children together, so that's why we decided as a community, elders and executives of the community, that we need to do something. So we have, we are setting up, in fact, we are in a process of setting up a GoFundMe, and it will be on the Manal website.
And like, how will the money be spent, I guess? What will you use the money for?
For their educational needs, for their well-being, for their everything which a child needs. A child which is six years old, a child from 13 years to 6 years, there are 5 children. So there's a lot of there's obviously they need a lot of care and finances. So that's what anything to do with their expense we will try to meet those expenses from the fund.
Did Nariman have any wishes that you knew about, your community knew about, that you're trying to honor?
She really wanted her children to be educated, because she was educated but not to an extent, but she was very, very involved in the school, Manal school, which is there in the ANC. We have a proper, like a Islamic education school. So she was involved in that, and she wanted her children to be educated. She wanted her children to be, good people.
Let's just conclude again with you speaking from the heart about what's happened in your community, and how you, as the leader, the president of this group, how you're feeling about what's happened in the last number of days.
It is shocking, because every time when we go and meet each other, like, although this month of Ramadan is considered a happy month, like, people are jovial, people are happy, trying to pray, trying to connect with, and trying to look back and see what they have done wrong, so that they can ask forgiveness from God and pray. And so this is the whole exercise which happens during the month of Ramadan. But now when we get together for prayer, everybody is quiet. People are not really feeling happy, because it's such a such a thing which happened, which nobody can fathom.
I didn't want to leave the story the way it was left traditionally.
A local artist is putting a twist of some traditional fairy tales. We'll head to Mount Pearl to check out her new exhibition. Well, the Wicked Stepmother is a familiar character from many classic fairy tales, but one local artist wants us to read between the lines of those old stories and see the stepmother in a new way. It's the project of a new artist in residence with the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl. The CBC's Elizabeth Whitten checked it out.
So what can you tell us about what we're seeing right now?
Well, we have stepped into a Grimm's fairy tale. This is an immersive book, and I wanted people to just sort of walk their way through it, see the illustrations, read the text, which is kind of hard to read, and just experience it. It's radically different from a screen experience. You have to be here. So I'm Jennifer Morgan, and we are in the Annex in Mount Pearl.
Tell me, what is reframing the Grimm?
So the Grimm fairy tales are very grim, and the story that I've actually typeset with the help of my apprentice is the juniper tree. This is letterpress printing. This is the way Gutenberg, he basically invented this in the 1500s. And it's a voice of authority visually. And I wanted to take that voice of authority and question it. So this is actually questioning, altering, asking, challenging the original stories. And I was really attracted to it because in our family, my mother had a stepmother. And you know, there's the stereotype, the wicked stepmother, and my Nanny Myrtle was, you know, a real woman. She had, you know, her joys, her griefs, her contribution. In a sense, there's a certain amount of I'm honoring my Nanny Myrtle by asking people to reframe their stereotypes about the wicked stepmother.
And I also wanted to ask about the material you use as your backdrop. They look like dress patterns.
And that's the subtext is using actual dress patterns, celebrating the unsung domestic work that women have traditionally contributed.
So when people are able to walk through your art installation, what do you want them to leave with?
Just kind of thinking about their own stereotypes. Stereotypes are actually a word that came from letterpress. And you would use that stereotype for letterheads and for advertising and for repeat. And so stereotypes and patterns are useful, but they're also a way in which we use cliches, we stop thinking about the complexity of the human being we're interacting with. You know, maybe it's time for us to see the full dimensionality of the person who's sitting across from us.
One seal buyer operates in the province, and that puts the hunt in a precarious situation. Watch part 1 of an appeal for seal, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Well, public health officials are urging everyone to check on their measles vaccination status. Make sure that your shots are up to date, especially if you plan to do any traveling. Joining me now to talk more about this is Dr. Janice Fitzgerald. So first of all, we've been seeing some outbreaks across Canada in different provinces, BC, Quebec, Saskatchewan. Have we seen any cases in Newfoundland and Labrador yet?
So no, so far, knock on wood, we haven't seen any cases here. I mean, certainly though, with people traveling, and especially this time of year with Easter break coming up, you know, people are going to be traveling and may be in places where we are seeing an increase in measles transmission. So we want people to be sure before they travel that they are up to date with their vaccines.
It has been a very long time since we've seen any cases here, but is it inevitable? Like, do you think that for sure we're going to see some cases of measles in this province, considering what's going on around the world?
I certainly would not be surprised if we saw some cases here related to travel. I mean, thankfully, with our vaccination rates as they are, you know, we wouldn't expect huge outbreaks here or anything like that, but we certainly could see travel-related cases. And of course, anytime measles is so infectious, anytime you have cases, it can spread to people who are unvaccinated or under-vaccinated.
How is our vaccination rate?
So generally speaking, we have quite good vaccination rates, and we look at, with measles vaccines, because we give it at 12 and 18 months of age, we look at that at the 2-year mark, and then again at school entry, and certainly we're above 90% for both of those, and above 95% actually for most years for the 2-year mark. So, and that's been pretty consistent over the last many years, and so we do believe that we've got pretty good vaccination rates on the whole in the population.
So you say 90% for the whole population is the kind of ideal rate, like 95 or up?
Yeah, so we'd really like to see 95% of the population immune to measles. That doesn't necessarily mean vaccinated, because for people who were born before 1970, they may have immunity because measles was circulating quite readily at that time prior to regular vaccination programs. So they would have immunity from being infected in all likelihood. So, you know, it's the immunity that's the most important thing. And nowadays, of course, the immunity comes from getting your vaccines.
And there is this advice for people to check on their vaccination status. How do people do that? Because I know, you know, folks had these little booklets once upon a time. I lost mine long ago. So if someone doesn't have that little book, how can they find out what their vaccination status is?
Certainly you can check with your public health office. For people who've been getting got these vaccines through their childhood vaccinations, then those records would be kept at public health, and so people can check. And then of course many people have gotten vaccines, updated vaccines as adults, either for work-related issues or again for traveling. If they were going to be traveling, they would have gotten updated. And if you're not traveling at this time, you know, the risk is not high, and so really our focus right now is on people who are going to be traveling, and especially if they're going to be traveling to areas where measles is known to circulate, or where there may be experiencing a measles outbreak at this time. We would certainly want them to make sure that they are up to date. Not everybody will need vaccinations before they travel, because a lot of people are up to date, and if they are, that's great, but if you're not, then we would certainly encourage you to contact your local public health office.
So if you are planning on doing some travel and you do need a shot, how does one go about getting a measles shot?
So measles vaccine is available through the publicly funded program through public health. Call your public health office and book an appointment to get a vaccination.
Okay. Now what about people who don't have an MCP number?
Yeah, we would still, if they're residents of the province, we would still give them vaccine. The whole point of doing this type of a vaccine program is to ensure that we are, I mean, obviously we want to protect people, individuals, but it is to protect the population as well. So if people are immunized when they go to travel and are coming back to the province, then obviously being immune to measles is beneficial to us all. So if you're a resident here in the province, regardless if you have an MCP or not, we would still vaccinate.
Right, well, lots of useful information in there. Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, how is this for a getaway? A hotel in Wales is getting enthusiastic attention, but be warned, guests there are promised a very deep sleep.
So not too tight that you will give yourself a headache.
That's because that's the only way to get to your room, which is more than 400 meters underground. The Deep Sleep Hotel lies in an abandoned slate mine, so along with zip lines, narrow passages, and a terrifying catwalk, it also offers a look at history. The mine closed decades ago and has been turned into an extreme adventure playground in recent years. Hotel guests get dinner delivered in a sealed package, and perhaps no surprise, alcohol is not allowed. Well, it's Friday, so let's find out who's celebrating. Happy anniversary to Ray and Triffy Abbott of Bonavista. They're celebrating their 57th anniversary. Anniversary greetings going out to Garfield and Lily Bessie from Happy Valley Goose Bay. They've been married 60 years. Happy 61st anniversary to Melvin and Viola Lush in Portugal Cove, St. Phillips. Congratulations to Jerry and Clara Burke of St. Mary's, who are marking 54 years of marriage. Happy 61st anniversary going out to Pat and Loretta Healy of Holyrood. Wishing Mary and Felix Critch of Holyrood a happy 58th anniversary. Happy anniversary to John and Shirley Elliott. They've been married for 55 years. Now to some birthdays. Happy 95th birthday to Ida Eastman. We're told she's known as the matron of Old Port au Choix Cove. Happy 90th birthday to David James, who's living in Gander. Ford Butt in Grand Falls, Windsor is celebrating his 90th birthday. Happy 93rd birthday to Annie Rose, who's living in Flowers Cove. Happy birthday to Sarah Phillips from Aspie Brook, Random Island. Today is her 92nd birthday. Birthday wishes going out to Mary Catherine Witten of Petty Harbor. She's celebrating her 90th birthday today. Wishing Enid Barrett a happy 91st birthday and happy 92nd birthday to Maxwell Barrett, both from CBS, and they were born exactly 1 year apart. Happy birthday to Margaret Andrews James. She's turning 99. Happy 94th birthday to Piney Small of Wild Cove. Wishing Boyd Plowman of Port Saunders a very happy 91st birthday. Birthday greetings going out to Leah Tulk, who just turned 95. Leah is from Ladle Cove, but now lives in Gander. Happy birthday to Patrick Breen of St. Mary's, who turned 94 yesterday. Birthday wishes going out to Hillary Jesso of Stephenville, who's turning 96. Happy 93rd birthday to Emmeline Smith of Gooseberry Cove, now living in Clarenville. Birthday greetings going out to Susie Blagden of Boxey, who celebrated her 91st birthday yesterday. And ending on a milestone, happy 100th birthday to John Pauls of Spaniards Bay. Another fine crowd. Congratulations once again. And before we get to the weather, we were talking about the solar eclipse earlier, and you noticed something after the fact. I didn't notice it at the time either.
I said 2023 and 2020, oh my goodness. Anyway, I said last year and this year, and that's not what I meant. I meant 2033 and 2044.
Right,
obviously.
for the next solar eclipses. So, yeah.
Just a few people, coming up.
A few people pointed that out to her, so
that's all good.
Corrected. All right, so we're looking at the long-range forecast, and so the weekend, and there's a little bit of snow coming next week.
A little
Did I
bit.
hear that right?
Yeah, just a little bit of snow. Nothing super significant. And like I said, the good thing about this time of year is that whatever snow does fall never lasts that long. So let's take a look at what's going to happen as we head through your Saturday evening and into Sunday. It will be quiet for the most part across the island. We may see a few peaks of sun through the day. On Sunday, a little bit more cloud cover up across Labrador and the potential for some flurries yet again through the afternoon. But yes, for the most part, Sunday not looking too bad. We may see some flurries though by the time we get into the evening hours right along the coast, the west coast. So your temperatures are going to sit anywhere from 0 to about +4 across the island. Labrador, same thing, generally between 1 and 4 degrees, a little cooler though to the north. Now for Monday, this is when our next system will move through, and it looks like it should arrive through the overnight and into Monday, so we could see some wet snow with this one for the island and some of Labrador as well. But depending on the track, we'll likely see some mixing, potentially over to rain by the time we get into the evening hours for the eastern half of the island. We're going to keep an eye on that one. Amounts don't, like I said, don't look super significant, but we could pick up 5 to 10 centimeters in some areas. But again, the snow will be very wet for your Monday. This is also when we're going to see the winds ramp up just a little bit. We're looking at 40 to 60, maybe some areas seeing a little bit higher than that through the day. Temperatures will hover around 0 or about +2 through the afternoon. Labrador, again, not seeing too much in the way of movement in your temperatures. Anywhere from about +1 to -4 will be your daytime highs. Long range forecast showing temperatures will be above 0, but still looking unsettled with the chance of flurries right through Wednesday at this point. And then for central, Same thing, maybe some showers on Tuesday and Wednesday, mixing with some seeing some flurries in the mix there as well. Generally more cloudy for the west coast, where you will see the chance of flurries right through Wednesday. And then for Labrador, your temperatures will be above zero in the east, central and eastern areas, with the chance of flurries right across the board. And then for western Labrador, minus single digits by the time we get into next week, but we will see that drop in temperatures overnight. Our weather photo. Speaking of Labrador, take a look at how cool this shot is. So this is some freezing rain that happened, and then it released from the pole and looks like a ghost. A ghost ice sculpture there from the freezing rain. So thank you to Damien for capturing that lovely shot.
Oh, so the ice is like the pole was encased in that ice,
yeah.
and then it separated and then slid down the wire.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's really
very cool.
Yeah, it's like a insect or a molting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's shedding its skin.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for us on this Friday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.